But I think there's most of the people, most of the seniors, at least the boys, are going to be going to City College. I went to Coastline Christian Academy, private school, but I ran cross country at GB.
Oh,
So
that's cool. I didn't know they let you have that freedom.
they don't anymore, which is kind of sad. I think the one really big race that we won, the reason why we won it is because Peter decided to go all out in like the last 100 and pass like 10 kids. And that was like enough to win. And it was like we had a saying, never again. And the never again referred to the one time that we lost to San Marcos. I definitely noticed a shift. Like when we hit CIF, it was like a whole new level.
Yeah, I remember we had that Santa Ynez meet, and
that doesn't make sense at all. Like, why would you do that? That seems very much like a, home field advantage.
who would you consider a biggest school rival in cross country and
Definitely San Marcos. Definitely San Marcos. Yeah. Like, see, last year, once Ventura and Buena moved out of our league, it was basically just either us or San Marcos was going to win. It was pretty much a given. So we were just competing against them the entire time. This year, at league finals, it came down to like a tiebreaker, which was super rare, and we managed to win that tiebreaker, which is kind of crazy. Super intense. Yeah, it was very intense.
Did that put you but you said it wasn't enough to go to CIF, unfortunately, but it was enough to win league. Is that what it is?
We won league and we got into CIF. The race I was talking about was CIF finals. We didn't advance far enough, or we didn't place high enough to go to CIF state, but we still made it into like CIF, like the race itself.
And you remember your time on that one?
No.
I could probably pull it. Do they all blend together after a while?
Yeah. Yeah. I can barely remember my PR though.
What's your PR?
I think it's 15:15.3.
Impressive. Very impressive. Did you go to GV or La Colina?
I went to Coastline Christian Academy, private school, but I ran cross country at GB.
So that's cool. I didn't know they let you have that freedom.
They don't anymore, which is kind of sad because I know my sister was trying to do it this year and they wouldn't let her. But yeah, at PE, our PE time kind of like matched when the cross country practice would start. So I would, when we had PE, I would run out of my school over a couple blocks to where GV was and then just kind of go into the GV field and get ready for practice. So it's kind of fun.
I think SB County athletes are kind of thriving right now, aside from, spring sports. Like, I feel like all three schools have a nice, healthy mix of, like, every sport. Like, kind of shows that, like, our personnel is pretty impressive, like, that in each sport they can manage to send athletes to the next level. Especially – like Ben Partee is the San Marcos quarterback, and San Marcos isn't really known for their football, but him and wide receiver Josh Brown both had a pretty great connection, and I think they're both going to the next level. So, I mean, I just love when, even if the team's not entirely backing you up, sometimes in athletics you can put the team on your shoulders and, say, we got this. So I love that kind of stuff. Is there any race where you put the team on your back?
No, I can't. I don't think there is. Cross country is very much like a team sport. Well, I guess there are probably some races during this season where it's like I would get in the top 3, and then that would like really help our team. Probably Clovis this year, but we never did like super well because of me. It was usually like I think the one really big race that we won. The reason why we won it is because Peter decided to go all out in like the last 100 and pass like 10 kids. And that was like enough to win. And it's like, wow, if we had gotten one less place, we would have lost. And like he decided to just do that for fun. Like,
what race was that? Do you remember?
That was Mount Sac, which is known for being so hard.
Is it like hilly? It sounds hilly.
It's yeah. There's 3 hills. One's the switchbacks, which is just really steep switchbacks, right? And then there's poop out, which is like a short hill, but it's like the steepest hill you've ever run. And then there's water tower, which is not as steep, but like really long. So you have to like hit all 3 of those hills with stuff in between, and it usually kills kids.
Yeah, I can totally picture Peter just saying, "Screw it, you, pass everybody up."
I think like Foster was trying to catch him or something like that. And so he heard Foster coming behind him. He was like, I can't let that happen. And so he just and then Foster was trying to catch, like they were both passing a bunch of kids. It was yeah.
But one of my favorite things about track and field and cross country is just the whole rabbit aspect of it. How you see your rabbit and you're like, that's my guy. And you, like at the end, you're just like, here it comes. I got to get that rabbit, you know?
Yeah.
And even for training, you know, you put a guy 5 feet in front of you, you're bound to run a little faster.
Yeah. That's one of the reasons why, like, I feel it's harder for me to do well in my training right now is because I'm not actually like running with people. So like there'll be times like in a long run I might just like space out and then my pace slows down and you know I'm not going as hard. But like when I'm running with people, it's like a very this person picked it up a little bit. I gotta like match them, you know. It's really weird when you're running with people how like you match paces like just kind of automatically. But,
yeah, I was gonna say I'll be your rabbit, but I might have to be on my skateboard or bike.
well, what we did one time was we just had kids run like a 400 while I was doing a mile. So like they had to run my mile pace and like that would help pace me. That worked out pretty well.
You're kind of inspiring me to get back on the horse and maybe run a few more 400s.
Do it. Yeah. I think cross country is going to get a little bit more popular next year.
At DP?
Yeah, just because kids are going to have been running just because there's nothing else to do. And they're going to find out like, oh, hey, like this is actually fun. Or like, oh, it's not that bad. I'm more used to it now. So that's what I think. But we'll see.
Definitely feel like in another life when I didn't play clarinet, I probably would have been on your guys' squad. Here, I'll give a little bit of background. So in 2018, at the start of the 2018-19 season, Buena and Ventura moved to, I believe it's the Packview League, and then northern schools, Santa Ynez, Cabrillo, and Lompoc moved into Channel League. So it was a 16 league now. And it definitely benefited football, but I don't know if it benefited a lot of the other sports, cross country included, because and track, I feel like Ventura is always a pretty big motivator for teams to players to try to compete. And what was your experience? Were you disappointed with the league shift?
Well, I think it depends on what you mean by benefited, because we automatically became like one of the best teams in the league. So that was kind of cool because kids all of a sudden had like a sense that like they could win. Like when we started practicing in the 2019-2020, right after the new league change, it was like, oh, wow, we could win this, you know, like we should train hard because we have a chance of victory. Whereas
You
like,
did win it, right? Or
yeah, we did.
both years?
Both years. So like that was kind of like the mentality kind of like shifted, like, oh, now that these teams are out, like we could actually do this. So like that was kind of cool. But the other problem was that the teams that came in were not that great. And so we kind of just ignored them. And like you said, there wasn't that like Ventura push or like the Buena push. Like there weren't those fast kids in our league that we could like, okay, let's like beat these kids, you know? So it like helped, I think it helped us train because we could always imagine like, let's beat San Marcos. Like we had a saying, never again. And the never again referred to the one time that we lost to San Marcos. We were just like at the beginning of every league race, we just like look at each other like never again.
It almost sounds like 9/11 or something like really serious.
It is very serious. We were very serious about it. You see like all the teams doing like their cheers or whatever, and we just be looking at each other going, never again. Straight face.
And I feel like when I said not benefit, yeah, you hit the nail right on the head. With there's like less higher tier athletes, and it sounds like it was good for DP cross country, but I think what I was thinking of was more like volleyball and baseball. And now these guys, what I heard from staff and stuff, they were like, I mean, we can win it, but they felt like they weren't as prepared for CIF. That's what I'm trying to get at.
Okay, yeah, see what you mean. I definitely noticed a shift. Like when we hit CIF, it was like a whole new level. We were a little bit more prepared for it because like we would do meets besides league meets. So we'd go to like really big ones, and then the kids could see like, oh, whoa, these teams are really fast. Or like, oh, whoa, like, yeah, like I'm actually not as fast as I think. It was kind of funny actually when I was like thinking of our little like squabble with San Marcos. Like we were all trying to be the best in a league that was like nowhere close to the best. You know, it's like scrabbling for the lowest or like the worst position, the worst best position.
I don't know. Channel League, there is San Marcos, like they're a threat, but I guess they're kind of the only threat. Is that fair to say?
Mm-hmm. In track, it's different.
Yeah, definitely. I remember we had that Santa Ynez meet, and
that was.
Are you about to pop off on the officials? Because that's what I am thinking about.
Yeah. It was just a disappointing meet with everything that happened.
That was definitely, I feel like, a low point for DP track and field.
Yeah.
It kind of felt like the officials were out to get us.
It did a little bit. It did.
Did you remember Nehemiah? They, like, DQ'd him because he wasn't wearing the right shorts or something? Like, what kind of bullshit is that? Have you ever heard of that?
Yes, for CIF. Like, for the very, very, like, official, like, top meets, they can get kind of stingy. But even in CIF, like, Foster wore a hat with, like, the logo burned out. Like, that obviously wasn't part of, like, the uniform or anything like that, but, like, you kind of let it slide. And there's always, like, rules about, like, oh, you can't wear GPS watches. But I know there are kids who wear GPS watches. And I've never even seen, like, a CIF meet be that strict.
Yeah, so that was like what was challenging for you? What did you feel was holding you back?
I had my own experience where I somehow my name got like lost and I wasn't entered in the 3200, which I was like pretty much guaranteed to win. And so my coach had to like fight with the officials to get me into the race, which I'm pretty sure I entered into.
It sounds pretty sketchy.
Yeah.
I don't want to say they were out to get us, but they were freaking out to get us. That was so skeezy.
It felt like it.
Like, there were just so many weird things that went wrong that day. Like, you remember, I think it was Daisha got stung in the eye by a bee on the 4x1. It was the first race of the day, and she was like the second leg, and she got stung in the eye by a bee, and she was allergic. So all of a sudden they had to get her out of there and restart the race. Like,
yeah,
I just remember that day was hectic. Everybody was wondering, like, what the fuck is going on?
It was craziness. It was mostly like the Nehemiah part that got me mad. Because I was like, that doesn't make sense at all. Like, why would you do that? That seems very much like a, home field advantage.
Damn, Nehemiah has had a lot of streaks of bad luck. He got hurt in like the second football game last year. That hurt to watch.
My dad was on the sidelines like right there when it happened.
It's kind of weird. I didn't commentate a lot of games last year, but I commentated that one, and I had Zach, his brother, as my color commentary guy. And that's how the day unfolded. He was sitting in front of me. I was like, you want to come up and do a few plays with me? And then he just stuck around. And then all of a sudden he's like, wait, that's my brother. And I was like, oh. I feel like I'm kind of happy now that I built the infrastructure my junior year to live stream sports, because I feel like that's definitely going to be something that high schools are going to need to do more, especially if, I don't know, I saw the other day they're worried that the virus will pick up steam in the winter.
Well, if it's supposed to kick up steam in the winter, that also means it's supposed to go down in the summer. So it could just be it disappears completely in the summer before it even hits that period of time.
Let's hope.
Yeah, let's hope.
One last thing. I read the SB Art article.
Mhm.
You credited Coach Nash. Definitely has been a, what do you call it? Like a strong, strict presence on the
Yeah.
track. I feel like he got mad at me for not wearing a shirt a few times. Was Nathaniel more of a peer or a mentor?
He had some mentor moments, definitely. When I first came into the sport as a freshman, there was a guy named Lauren Young.
That's Foster's brother, right?
Yeah, Foster's very older brother, older than Ian as well. And he was a senior then, and he kind of took me under his wing and was like, every time we came up to a meet, he'd run the warm up with me, and he'd be like, okay, so you want to look at like this part of the course, you want to like pick it up here, you want to like take a little easy here. He kind of like gave me like the lowdown of everything, and was like, even in practice, he'd be like running with me on the warm up, talking with me, getting me all psyched. And when we were doing workouts, he'd be like, hey, that was some great form. Like maybe work on this next time, or like, hey, nice job, stuff like that. So I think he was a really big mentor. Uh, Another one, like just my coaches in general, Coach Nash, Coach Mix, both those guys taught me a lot about like how to coach and like how to lead, and also gave me some tips on like my form. So I think those would be my top three mentor. Yeah.
Coach Mix is so amazing. He's such he makes my heart like go up. Like I did a story about, I don't know if you know who Curly Guinan is, and Addie Zerner, but I did a story about them, and he said like, yeah, Coach Nash was always there driving me, and it's cool that he's been there so long and always he's like inspiring. He's been inspiring athletes since day one.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I mean, all the other guys too, but just since he's been at DP for so long.
I once have you ever heard of the school of Great Oak?
I have not.
Okay, so they've been number one in D1 for cross country for like the past 5 years. It's like they're crazy guys, like super fast. And the thing about their town is like kids grow up wanting to be on the cross country team. Like you train in junior high to be on the cross country team, like that's like a huge thing there. And the thing that happens though is these kids get super fast, so they're running like breaking 15, doing amazing things, but then they don't improve when they hit college because they've just burned out. Like they train so hard. And I didn't know that at first. So I once talked to Mix and I was like, hey, like, what are those guys doing at that school that we aren't? And why aren't we doing that? Because like I want to be fast too. And he like told me that, and he was like, so I'm looking out for your future, Like that's what he was always like. He wasn't thinking about the high school season really. Like of course he wanted to win, but he was always more like, I want you to do super well in college and afterwards. I want you to like grow up loving the sport and like have that carry it on. So that was one thing that I really loved about Coach Mix. I've watched my brother get hurt in every single football season he's ever played, and he still loves it. He still keeps going back. I've seen my teammate Peter. He got hurt. He missed a couple seasons because of a back injury that just kept coming back.
Liam McCoy, I feel like also struggled.
He broke his arm, and then like just came back a few weeks later and like started running again. Like I think it's totally possible to rebound. The part that I'm more worried about is like if someone doesn't get hurt and they just keep running all 4 years at like a super high level, like are you gonna want to keep doing that? Like that's kind of what I'm like worried about the current freshmen for. Is like they're running 2-hour long runs, which is like as a freshman the longest run I did was like 6 miles, and they're doing like 15.
Oh so, wow.
Yeah. So
I really want to beat San Marcos now.
Oh yeah, they're going to be super strong. But I'm just worried it's going to turn into that whole like Great Oak mentality where it's like we're going to turn into like a really fast school with really strong kids, but they aren't going to be able to like improve. They're not going to like want to run after high school.
Hopefully some of them will see this and maybe think about it and, want to do that. So thanks so much for dropping by, Joseph. It's a pleasure to have you on as my very first Coffee with Commits.